Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we're going through the 2009 action fantasy film called Avatar. So let's get started. I hope you guys enjoy watching the video. In 2154, the Resources Development Administration, aka RDA, recruits Jake Sully, a paraplegic and farmer marine. His twin brother Tom, who worked for the RDA, was killed, and now they take Jake as his replacement for the Avatar program on a planet called Pandora. Because his twin and Genome is the only one who can activate Tom's avatar. Jake agrees and is put into Kairos' sleep chamber, where he sleeps for almost 6 years as a crew traveled to the planet. When Jake arrives, he meets the head and team of the Avatar program, Dr. Grace Augustine, and Dr. Gnome, who also has a friend of Tom. He learns that Pandora's atmosphere is poisonous to humans, and its land is ruled by species called the Navy, 10-foot-tall, blue-skinned humanoids. The Navy worship the Mother Nature goddess Awa. In order to explore the land, humans temporarily transfer their consciousness to avatars, a human-Navy hybrid that humans have created and can only be activated by its own biological owner. Jake and Norm enter their avatar bodies for the first time, and Jake feels ecstatic to be able to run and walk for the first time in years. He then meets Trudy, a combat pilot assigned to the avatar team, who introduces him to the Colonel Miles. Colonel Quaritch comes up with a deal for Jake, who has to join the avatar team for the expeditions. But he will report everything he knows about the Navy and their home tree, which is sitting on the largest supply of unobotanium in Pandora. The RDA is mining this mineral to take back and sell on Earth. In turn, the colonel will make sure that the company funds the replacement for Jake's legs. Jake agrees. He joins Grace and Norm as their escort on their research expedition. While the scientists search for samples, a viscous beast called a Thanator attacks Jake, tearing him away from the group. He barely escapes with his life, and he's soon left in the jungle, struggling to survive, until a female Navy named Neytiri saves him. Neytiri feels a strong attraction to Jake's brave heart, but thinks he's too stupid and naive. Seeds from the spirit tree land on Jake, and Neytiri takes this aside to take him back to the clan of Omaticaya. He's met with hostility, especially from the Suti, the heir to the Sheftian ship and Neytiri's fiancé. Jake meets the clan's chief and priestess, Utikan and Moat, who also happens to be Neytiri's parents. After much deliberation, Moat decides to take in Jake and have Neytiri teach him their ways of life. Jake settles in for the night with the clan, and he instantly brought back to the Avatar simulator. He reports everything he's learned to Grace, as well as the Colonel Quaritch. The colonel gives Jake 3 more months to convince the Navy to move, or else they will be bombing their house. Grace grows suspicious of Jake's dealings with the colonel, so she transfers the team to a remote outpost at the floating mountains of Pandora. Over the next 3 months, Neytiri teaches Jake the ways of Nazi. She tells Jake that once he is ready, he'll have to choose his own Ikran, a winged beast the Navis use to hunt, and so he will finally become a warrior. Jake begins to track and hunt the wildlife, and he also begins to understand the spiritual connections between the beings in Pandora. Soon enough, Jake grows sympathetic with the Navi. He starts falling in love with Neytiri. Once he gets his first clean kill, Neytiri, Suti, and Navi go to the floating mountains to get their own Ikran. Once they reach Ikran's nest, Suti urges Jake to choose one. In order to choose one, the Ikran must choose him first by killing him. He manages to take down one of the beasts and bonds with it through the nerve endings on his hair. Neytiri pushes them off the cliff, forcing Jake to fly with the Ikran to solidify the bond. As they're flying their Ikran, Jake and Neytiri face an almost ill-fated encounter with the Toruk, a mighty dragon-like beast that the Navis fear and worship. Only 5 Navis in history has been able to tame and ride the Toruk, including Neytiri's great-grandfather. The 3 months come to an end, and the team goes back to the facility. Colonel Quaritch gives Jake the ultimatum, but he asks the colonel for an expansion, just until his final ceremony is over and he becomes one of them, and he convinces them to relocate. The day of the ceremony arrives, and Jake is finally accepted by the Omaticaya. Now that he's one of them, Neytiri takes Jake into the Tree of Soul. The Tree of Souls is one of Navy's sacred places where the memories of their ancestors are stored. They can access these memories by tying their nerve endings to the fibers of the tree. It is also one of the places with the most unobotanium deposits. Neytiri tells Jake that he can now choose a wife. He then proposes to Neytiri, who happily accepts. Under the Tree of Souls, the two kiss and connect their nerve endings, binding themselves to each other for the rest of their lives in the eyes of the goddess Awa. As morning breaks, Neytiri is awakened by the sounds of the large machine as a bulldozer has come for the RDA tearing up the Trees of Souls. Neytiri tries to wake Jake, but he's currently out of the stimulation and remains unconscious. By the time Jake wakes up, he sees a terrific Neytiri dragging him away. He signals the bulldozer to stop, but it continues on blowing. He then climbs the machine and starts destroying the cameras, but the crew starts shooting at him. They run away with Neytiri sobbing as she watches the machines tore down their sacred place. Meanwhile, the RDA watches the footage of Jake destroying the cameras as they are able to identify him. Jake and Neytiri make it back to the home tree, where he tries to persuade Utikan to relocate for the safety of the clan. Suti attacks Jake, accusing him for mating with his birth rotted. Neytiri admits to this and says it cannot be undone as they have now bonded before Awa. At their outpost, Norm tries to stop the soldiers as they pull Jake and Grace from the simulators, but it's too late. Jake takes the opportunity to state his final plea, but he and Grace faint before he can say anything. They are brought back to the facility and Jake's true allegiance is revealed through a video log stating that Na'vi will never give up their home. Colonel Quaritch decides to pull the plug and bomb the Na'vis away from the home tree. Grace then tells the company that they can't destroy the home tree because it will be destroying the biological neural network, the synapses connecting all of them together like one enormous brain. The RDA isn't fully convinced but agrees to give Team 1 an hour so that they can convince the Omaticaya to move. Grace and Jake regain consciousness to their avatar forms and Jake starts telling them about the RDA's plan. He then admits that he is sent there as a spy, but now things have changed. Hurt by his betrayal, Neytiri lashes out of him and leaves. Jake and Grace are then taken captive. The RDA sends hovercrafts to the home tree and starts gassing them out. Refusing to run, the Omaticaya fights back, but their arrows are useless against the heavy steels of the crafts. The hovercrafts then fire the missiles at the natives and at the home tree. The tree immediately lights up on fire as the Na'vis make a run for their lives. Jake and Grace are tied to their post, unable to escape until Maud approaches them. She sets them free, telling them that if they are indeed one of them, they should able help them. The firing continues as the home tree's roots causing the trunks is fully break. The home tree topples over and kills 100 Na'vis by crushing them on the ground. Neytiri searches for survivors and finds her father with a shard in his chest. With his dying breath, he bestows upon her with his bow and arrows and makes her promise to fulfill her duties. Jake finds her in the rubble, but Neytiri pushes him away, telling him to never come. Back at the facility, Jake and Grace are taken out of the simulation again and are arrested while Jake's avatar body collapses among the debris. As the Avatar team lay in their cell, Trudy busts them out. They hijack one of the helicopters and escape. Unluckily, Grace takes a hit on the stomach. Jake patches her up as they make it back to their original outpost. They relocated higher up the mountains where the RDA can't get it easily. Jake gets back into the simulation and forms a plan. Once he's back in his avatar form, he calls out his Icron. Jake knows that there's only one way that the Omaticaya will listen to him. Together, they hunt down the Toruk. With nowhere else left to go, the Omaticaya are forced to take refuge at the last remaining trees of souls. As they wait for an answer to the prayers, they hear a strong gust of wind behind them and gasp in horror as they see the Toruk flying towards them. It lands on the ground and Neytiri is shocked to see that Jake has managed to tame the mighty beast. This feat gains the awe and respect of Na'vi. Jake asks Suti to join him in the fight against the humans and agrees. Jake then brings Grace to the Na'vi, asking him to save his life. He takes her human body to the Tree of Souls together with the avatar body, and then the clan forms a ritual to try to transfer Grace's consciousness. But it is too late. Grace's wounds are too deep and she has died before the ritual was over. But Jake knows that the battle is far from over. Together with Suti, they rally up with Omaticaya. They then travel into neighboring clans, gathering Na'vis from the plains, seas, and mountains to join them with the battle. At the end of the day, they manage to gather over 2,000 Na'vis at the tree. Through intel, Jake learns that RDA's plan to bomb the Trees of Souls. He has forms a plan to lure them through the floating mountains and then attack them even before they reach the sacred place. Jake prays to Iova at the Trees of Souls for guidance. As morning breaks, the RDA launches the hovercrafts along with the bombs. The Navy clans wait for them among the floating mountains. Not long after, the clans from the plains take action in charge of the machine. The Na'vis take the first fire, flying around the hovercraft and shooting them down into their arrows. They manage to take down a few helicopters, but the company's armory is too strong. They launch fires at the Na'vis with their guns, taking down quite a number of the Colonel. The Colonel Quaritch spots Jake on the Toruk and starts firing at him. Jake escapes the line of fire, luring the Colonel's hovercraft deeper into the mountains. Suddenly, Trudy and her helicopter intervenes the shooting, allowing Jake to escape. Meanwhile, Neytiri Icon is taken down and she lands on the ground, witnessing the devastation that the humans have caused. Sully launches an heroic act at the main hovercraft, taking away a number of men, unloading the bombs before he is gunned down and falls back onto the ground. The Na'vis are overwhelmed as they retreat deeper into the forest. Suddenly, the hovercrafts pick up a different movement. In a matter of seconds, various Pandorian wildlife come charging into the machines. The Ikrans overtakes the skies, taking down the remaining crafts. Neytiri interprets this as a sign of help from Awa. Jake then lands on the main hovercraft, carrying the bombs, and takes down their machine guns. He runs around the craft expertly, avoiding fire, and launches a grenade at one of the engines. The craft goes down and blows up among the mountains. He launches several more grenades at the colonial craft, but Quaritch manages to escape using his mechanical suit. The grenades blow up and Jake is tossed back into the sky and lands back to the ground. The colonel survives the blow and starts hunting down the outpost. Quaritch reaches the location of the simulators just in time as Neytiri makes a launch at him. Quaritch takes her down. He traps her beneath the trunks of the tree. As he's about to stab her, Jake appears and fights him. Jake is able to hold him off, breaking his knife and the protective glass around the suit. The colonel gasps for air and then starts interrogating Jake's body. He breaks open the glass of the outpost and destroys the simulators. Jake stabs him in the neck as the colonel drags his body. Neytiri frees herself and launches an arrow straight to the colonel's heart. She launches another arrow to finish the kill. Meanwhile, Jake emerges from the simulator, dragging his body to reach for an air mask. The poisonous air knocks him out and he's unable to breathe. Neytiri realizes what's happening and she climbs inside the outpost and puts the air mask on Jake. She sees his real body for the first time and they hold each other. Back in his avatar farm, Jake and Neytiri find Suti, who begs Jake to kill him off so that he could die a noble death as he takes his last breath. Suti acknowledges Jake as his brother and passes the chieftain ship to him. Jake accepts this with gratitude. The war is now over and the Navis have won. The facility is destroyed and the humans are sent back on their ships to Earth. Jake, Narm, and a few other humans are given permission by the Navis to stay. Jake is now crowned as the new chief of Amatikaya clan. On his new birthday, he is now taken to the Trees of Souls with Neytiri, where they perform a ritual, transforming his consciousness to his new avatar body. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and click the bell icon for more videos like this. I hope you guys enjoyed.